Hey guys, hey, we're live again. Hey, as promised, we are here, Jared and I, to wrap up the nationals a little bit on wrestling, and then we'll kind of go into later on, kind of discuss what next year's or who's available for some of the weight classes next year. And of course, as Jared pointed out, the transfer portal is open, so some of these guys might leave, and we might get some new guys to replace them. So nobody's left yet, have they, Jared?
No one from Iowa is there's no rumors no one from Iowa is leaving. I mean, as far as I know, we're keeping all of our guys.
Yeah.
Which I think that says something about the coaches.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And I'm going to say some of them weights are jam packed for next year, so they'll have to work something out. But as we know, Iowa placed a disappointing fifth place. However, the good news there is that's our 69th top 10 finish. Okay. That's pretty good. We've had 34 consecutive seasons of, no, I'm sorry, 53 consecutive seasons of having a finalist dating back to 1972.
Okay.
And so I just kind of stuff, and we've had a total of 327 All-Americans. I just kind of wanted to give a little history about, where our program's been at. And so anywho, we know that Penn State finished ahead of us.
And they broke our record.
And they broke our record by 2.5 points. We'll just get it back. We can get it back later. Penn State can't ride that forever, right?
Yeah, it may take another 27 years. I mean, from 1997. But
yeah.
I mean, just
how many of those guys that Penn State had in the finals? How many of those guys are actually coming back next year?
They had 6 in the finals. They had 4 national champions. One is gone for sure. That's Aaron Brooks, the 4-timer.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of COVID 2020, there's a few of these athletes that are given the option. If they want to, they can return, like Carter Sirachi at 174. And then I think the heavyweights, it's hard for me to pronounce his name in the first place. Kirkevette. Yeah, Greg Kirkevette. I think he does have the option of coming back.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to ask you about a couple of ours when we talk about next year's, because I discovered a couple of ours wrestle as regular seniors, regular seniors or redshirt seniors this year, and they might have an opportunity to come back, but it also depends on what the gambling situation is with them because they've sat their year out. But I discovered a couple of them actually have another year if they want it, or maybe they don't because they not only had to sit out a year, but they may have lost that eligibility too.
Nelson Brands is the one that pops up, first name to pop in my mind because he is a returning All-American. I believe he's at 174. And as much as a good job Patrick Kennedy did, I mean, not having Brands there, I mean, that could have been a difference between a top 5, a top 4, or even a top 3 finish.
Yeah, well, that could probably allow Kennedy to move down to his natural weight, 165, if Nelson Brands. Because Nelson Brands, according to this, does have another year of eligibility, but I don't know how the gambling situation pans out for him.
It also depends on Mike Caliendo at 165, who plays 4th. I'm not sure if he has a red shirt to burn or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure they're going to manage the weight classes. Tom Brands actually, he does a fairly good job managing weight classes, and we'll see how the future holds up.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't write down what Mike Caliendo. He's a true freshman or freshman redshirt. I can't remember.
He's a sophomore. I'm not sure if he's a true sophomore, but remember, he's one of the transfers we got from the transfer portal from South Dakota State, along with Jared Franick.
Yeah.
They're South Dakota or North Dakota State.
And also I saw on here that Zach Glazier is a redshirt senior, so that would indicate that he would have another year. But I don't know if he's actually going to take it or not.
Don't know. I mean, I think even Tom Brands after nationals, he says, I just need some time to evaluate and analyze. So I'm pretty sure that's all the other athletes are probably thinking right now too.
Yeah,
I mean, I would love to see Zach Glazier come back.
Yeah. Yeah, he's eligible. He can come back because he's got redshirt year, so that makes him eligible to come back. So I hope he does because I was impressed with what he did this year. We do know that Woods is gone. Jared Frankie's gone.
Rannick, yep. He was a graduate, so yeah.
Yeah, and then I forget who else.
Off the top of my head, Tony Cassiope, who got nailed with the gambling stuff. I believe his career's over. Collegiate career's over. I believe
all right, because he is a redshirt senior this year. So unless they took the eligibility, that he sat out his 1 year punishment, but unless they took away a year of eligibility for next year, he could come back technically.
He could. I hope he does. I mean, he probably would have been the big difference maker too, because he was at least he qualified. He made to the semifinals a few times. The heavyweights this season, it was pretty well stacked up. He did beat Colton Schultz of Arizona State, who was the 4 seed, lost in the semis. He was a runner-up too, by the way. So I mean, I really do believe Tony could have placed in the top 8, would have became an All-American, and probably would have performed better than Brad Hill.
Yeah.
And hats off to Brad Hill. He did win his first round match. I did not think he would pull up that upset, beating the number 8 seed.
Yeah. We weren't represented by 184.
Yeah.
But it looks like next year Angelo Ferrari's coming at that weight, so he might man that from day one if he indeed comes. I'm not convinced he's not coming based on his other brother's actions.
Yeah, and even if we don't get him at that weight class, I am confident with Gabe Arnold.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I got Gabe Arnold listed at 174 for next year.
Yeah, 74 or 84. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, this is all good talking points. I got started a little earlier in that area because I kind of got excited a little bit. But anyway, I just wanted to finish that. Penn State finished 1. Cornell, I did not know that they had that great of a wrestling program. Finished 2.
They do. They actually have two 4-time national champions. Drake, Kyle Drake is one of the more recent ones who's in Wrestling International right now. But Vito Arola, he's also a world champion. He's now a 2-time national champion. Was the 6th seed at 133. So I mean, they do have some talent.
Okay, my question is how many team points does a team earn when each person wins their national title, when an individual? Because
I would have looked that up, but
because Cornell jumped us with an I think both ISU and Cornell both jumped us with extra points, but it was only like a couple of points there that jumped us.
Yeah, and just remember, for a regular decision, you have a half a point. A major decision is worth 1 point. A tech fall is 1.5 points, and a fall is worth 2 points.
Okay,
and
that explains it then. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I should have got that clear in my head because I just was struggling with how these teams could finish ahead of us, and we got no points. We were sitting at 67 forever, and I noticed that we finished with 67 points.
Well, and you got to keep in mind with all of our place finish matches, Frantic got 8th, 0 points right there. Caliendo, 4th place, 0 points right there. Real Woods, 4th place, 0 points. Drake Ayula, 2nd place, 0 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At first I thought they got points for that, but then I realized they basically got points when they got to that match, the 3rd, 4th match, and they needed to win and get any more points.
It's called advancement points. I mean, as long as you keep winning, keep on advancing, that's where those extra points come in. And that's where I'm a little fuzzy on the there.
Okay. All right. And so Iowa State finishes ahead in 4th place of Iowa for the first time since 2007.
Yeah.
Cale Sanderson was the ISU coach at that time.
Before the transfer over to...
Yeah, I don't remember. He wasn't at Iowa State very long because I really thought he could have Iowa State be in the current Penn State if he would stay there.
Yeah, and you know the joke. How many times can lightning strike in Ames, Iowa? I mean, it happened with Dan Gable, then it happened with Cale Sanderson. But, I mean, rumor has it that I believe at the time there was a new athletic director happening at Iowa State, and, either get on board or leave. Well, Cale left.
Yeah. And 2007, by the way, was Tom Brand's first season.
Back and just remember, we had a really rough season. 2006, I think we finished 10th, 11th.
Yeah, that was with what was his name? The one that they fired.
Ballsby, fired him. And
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's too bad. And then I think when Brands took over, I think Gable joined him for a season to kind of help him get his feet wet.
Yeah, it definitely helps with recruiting. And remember, it took a few years, but I believe 2010 is when Iowa finally won that national title under Tom Brands. And then it took a while. Actually, maybe.
How many titles do we have under Brands right now? Do you remember?
I believe 3.
3, and it would have been 4 if it hadn't been the tournament in 2020 hadn't been canceled.
They were projected to win that season with Penn State coming in second. So
yeah,
Cale
Sanderson made everybody on the team of All-American.
Yeah,
not just an empty All-American status.
I know it's getting kind of ridiculous now. We have a 5-time All-American. I mean, we do not give this opportunity to anyone else. I mean, all because 2020. I just don't like the way it was handled.
Did you see on X or Twitter, Abe Asab, he tweeted out that nobody should be allowed to wrestle for a fifth title.
Yeah, that's hitting at Carter Starachi. He could be the only wrestler to win 5 national titles, and just we don't allow that for any other wrestler. So why should we allow it to him?
Right. It's just because of the COVID. What happened with COVID?
It's just handled. I mean, they should have done it like an application, give their reasons why, either accept or reject.
Yeah. And then until all this transfer portal and stuff came up, Chuck Long was the only quarterback to ever play in 5 bowl games.
Nice.
He got in on his freshman year, and I think because he still was able to redshirt because it was the only time he came into the game. I don't understand the rules at that time, but he somehow got in there.
And also, anyway, keep in mind, this is the season where they had some more rule changes. It's no longer 2 points takedown; it's 3 points. So, and also the not the writing time, but the back points. And now you can get up to 4 points on the back points. So it makes it easier to get those major decisions. It makes it easier to get those tech falls. Now it's still difficult, challenging to get those pins, but I mean, for the majors and the in the tech.
Well, I wonder if they also did it so that when you gave up an escape, it wouldn't hurt as much.
Yeah, and they're trying to reward the more aggressive offensive wrestler. I get that, but actually, there are some people with their opinions. They're saying that more wrestlers are wrestling a lot more cautious, and the best example I can give is Drake Ayula's final match at 125, where they're just trying to feel each other out. No one really made a real committed shot until late the second period, where trying to bring up, it's hard for me to pronounce his name. Figueroa of Arizona State. I think maybe the final 10 seconds, I think he just had a nice setup where he was able to get in on Drake Ayula's leg. There's that scramble on the edge of the mat where he came out on top.
Okay. I just don't understand some of the Iowa wrestling this year. I just didn't see the aggressiveness and the attack, and being in attack mode the whole time, because I'm so used to Iowa wrestling being like that. And when you consider the Brands brothers wrestled that style themselves, why aren't they insisting on that and coaching that and encouraging it? Because it almost seemed at times, and I didn't get to see all of the nationals because I don't have ESPN Plus, but I was able to catch enough of it on the regular channel.
Yeah.
That it just seems like we wrestle not to lose this year.
It does. I think just individual performances, and maybe it's also a mental thing too. That Drake Ayula, looking at his matches right now, his first match was a 10-2, then a tech fall. Then he gets that rematch against Bradley. That was the overtime win, 4-1. And then he gets a rematch against Barnett, Wisconsin, in the semifinals. That was a 3-2 match. So I think it's more of a mental block. He's competing at the same level at this competition. I think he's just wrestling maybe not to lose.
Yeah. Well, that's, I know, and I understand that, we've seen enough this year and, and probably enough wrestling over the years that when these guys do get aggressive and take a shot, sometimes they end up getting taken down themselves. When they think they've got it good, and all of a sudden the guy flips around on him and reverses on him, and now he's got him down. Not only did he pick up the fall points, but he picked up the reversal points on us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and sometimes back points too. And so, yeah, that discourages me a little bit. But let's just start. Let's go weight by weight. Let's start with our only finalists at weight 125, and talk about Drake and how he fared and who he lost to.
Yeah, and like I said before, 125 is the most unstable. I mean, this is not just coming from me. This is coming from everybody else. Unpredictable, most chaotic weight class. I think there were 6 different ranked number 1 wrestlers. And I had a really good feeling that Davis was not going to make it to the finals as a true freshman. And eventually he lost in the quarterfinals to Figueroa. So the 8th seed who won it all. But speaking about Drake, I mean, like I said before, this was Iowa's most favorable spot to get a wrestler in the finals.
Yeah. And you said that from the beginning, and it came true. You were not thinking. When did Tony Ramos bow out? What did he end up?
Oh, yes. The returning national runner-up who beat Spencer Lee. That's Matt Ramos, I believe, of Purdue.
Yes, I got it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, he lost in the quarterfinals. He lost to Nato of Lock Haven, who was also ranked number 1 at one point. Remember, Ramos was ranked number 1. Nato was ranked number 1. Figueroa was ranked number 1. Davis, Ayula, and Stanich of Lehigh.
Yeah, so that was a favorable matchup. Okay. Yeah, that was a favorable one.
It was. And Ramos, lost to overtime to Nato. He gets sent to the backside, and he loses to the number 2 seed, Stanich of Lehigh, 4-0. So I'm not sure if he's going to be back or not. With this COVID stuff, who knows who's going to be back?
Yeah.
Who's graduating.
Well, let's go to let's move on to 133 and what happened there.
Like I said, with 133, this was going to be a really difficult path for Brody Teske to become an All-American. And I'm trying to find him. Okay, so he does win his first round match, but then he's going against Lehigh's Crookham, the number 2 seed. He was 23-1 of the season. Teske drops to him 8-3 in the round of 16, and he literally has to roar back to be able to place in the top 8. But and he does. He wins a couple matches here against Maryland Brown of Maryland. Gets a 14-6 win there. Gets a sudden death victory over Army's Basil, who's a 25 seed. But then he comes against Schaber of Rutgers, and Schaber beat him back at the Big Ten tournament. So he would have to get through him to be able to place in the top 8.
And so he didn't place.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to where Real Woods was at 141.
Yes, I actually projected him to make it to the the semifinals, but yet he loses in the quarterfinals. This is a guy that unfortunately just underperformed. He was ranked number 1 throughout most of the season. He had to deal with some kind of injury before he fell to Michigan's Sergio during the regular season. He lost to Barlett of Penn State, and eventually lost to Mendez, the national champion from Ohio State. But I mean,
that's just crazy when you think about it. And Woods dominated early in the season, and then right before Michigan, it seemed like he just wasn't the same wrestler. So I think it's obvious that he was wrestling hurt. I mean, he didn't have that same aggressiveness. He didn't have that.
It hurts. And also he's one of those wrestlers that puts himself in a really high risk situation. When he was wrestling McNeil of North Carolina, I mean, he actually got cradled. I mean, he was in on a kind of scramble situation. He's a scrambler, and all it took was a lockup and got the cradle, and that's how he kind of lost there. But I kind of think people got him figured out. I mean, these wrestlers who just wrestle these close matches.
Yeah. Kind of like I remember Spencer Lee last year. I love the way he attacked and was aggressive, but there were times where he put himself in trouble too, but he was always able to get out of it. out of it very quickly. And I think when he hit Matt Romo's hit, I think that was just he couldn't do it last year.
In that match, he had the advantage going into the third period where he was on top of Matt Ramos, and that's his strongest position is top. But man, Matt Ramos found a way to get out, put him on his back in the final 15 seconds before he got that fall. But
Yeah.
I mean, even Matt Ramos, he doesn't look like the same wrestler as he was last year.
Yeah. All right, moving on to 149.
Okay, who do we have?
I forgot who wrestled that.
Yeah, I got the brackets right in front. Rathjen. Okay, so Caleb. I mean, he also had a really difficult path too, and it doesn't help when you lose your first round match to Williams of Oklahoma State, and Williams really dominated that match, 12-5. And Rathjen, he gets sent to the backside, but everyone survived the first day, which is always good.
Mm-hmm.
Find him back here. Okay, so he goes up against Ask Martin of South Dakota State, wins that with a actually injury default before he loses to D'Amelio of Ohio State, 7-2. So he was kind of an early out guy, but I mean,
yeah,
he had a tough path before him.
Was Caleb? Was he the one that they submitted Seabrook's name to wrestle at that weight, and they changed their mind after they had a wrestle off? Or was that a different wrestler?
Victor Voinovich, because it was Victor Voinovich who wrestled at the Oklahoma State dual meet.
Oh yeah. That's what it was. And then Caleb beat him in a wrestle off.
I'm not sure about that. Usually, I'm not even sure they do wrestle offs unless they're at the Soldier Salute or some tournament. But
no, this is at practice. They'd already put Voinovich's how do you say that name? Voinovich?
Victor Voinovich.
Yeah, Voinovich. They'd already submitted his name, and after the deadline, I think Rathjen wanted to go, and I think he went to the coaches, and they had a wrestle off between the two of them in probably in one of their practices, and Rathjen won. So they submitted his name late, but because of that, he had to have a really low seed. Or was that maybe that was the Big Ten?
That sounds more like the Big Tens.
Yeah, that's the Big Ten. That's the Big Ten. You're right.
Tell you the truth, because he had a really tough first round match against Nick of Ohio State, who was ranked number 10 at the time, and Brody Teskey. He was down like first two periods, and he roared back and won that match in the third.
Yeah, Brody. And Brody's going to be gone now. He's definitely used up his eligibility. Okay.
So 133 is going to be a spot for us. We're going to have to fill.
133 is a spot, and I believe 141 we're going to have to too. But we'll talk about that because I want to save all that talk for the end. And so I kind of want to get through this. Okay, at 157.
Oh yeah.
This looks like another spot we're probably going to have to refill because I'm not comfortable with Aiden Riggins. And he bowed out way early, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this was Jared Franick at 157, and I did say that he looked like he had a very favorable spot. Just because if you've never wrestled him before, you can easily be frustrated. However, as a 10 seed, he did upset the Keller of Ohio 4-3. Okay. And that set up a quarterfinal match against the number 2 seed Teamer, and Teamer of Arizona State. He gets the win 5-2, and eventually makes it to the finals and loses to Haynes. But going back to Franick, I mean, even if he lost quarterfinals or whatever, he still had a pretty favorable path to make All-American, and he did.
Okay, all right.
Because actually, Downey of UNI, he's actually from Warren County, my home county here in Iowa. He actually went to Indianola High School, so that's how I definitely recognize that name. So Franick got the upset there, 4-2, before falling to the hero of Cornell.
Okay, all right. So I've got the weights mixed up here.
Yes.
Where did Riggins wrestle?
Riggins was 84, and he didn't qualify.
84. Okay. All right. Okay. I had him at. Okay. I'm so confused. I confuse myself sometimes.
Okay. It's okay.
Anyway, I 157 with Franick leaving. Kobe Seabrook. I think that's how you say it. Seabrook.
Cybrick, yeah.
Yeah. He's currently a senior, so I don't know if he has any eligibility left. He might not. And so, but he's also the one I think who's sitting out this year
Yes,
because of rat gambling.
all because Frantic, the transfer from North Dakota or South Dakota State,
Yeah.
along
Yeah.
with Mike Caliendo.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Let's move to Caliendo at 165. Right.
He absolutely overperformed. I thought he would at least place fifth or sixth, and he overperformed his seeding. He was given a sixth seed. He makes it to the semifinals, which a lot of people were predicting that he could beat Ramirez of Cornell, and he did 9-4 impressively. And he's improved so much compared to from the Big Ten tournament, where Messenbrink, Penn State, he just tech-followed him at the Big Ten tournament. And Caliendo, he was actually in on the shot. He got just the first takedown of that match. I mean, it's a Dan Gable philosophy. The more time you're in on your opponents, the less they're in on your legs.
Okay, so all right, so Caliendo probably holds that spot again next year.
I would really think so.
I would think so because I think he earned it. But boy, there's a log jam in that between like 141 to 165. There's a log jam of wrestlers right there.
Yeah.
And, I can't imagine you can't keep them all happy. So I don't know if we're going to be able to keep all of these guys. But moving on to 174, this used to be Nelson Brand's spot. I believe Patrick Kennedy. No, he was at 184, right, this year?
Patrick Kennedy was at 165, lost to Caliendo at the Soldier Salute, gets bumped up to 174. And he performed very well. I mean, for being undersized. At the tournament here, try and find his name. It just felt like he just underperformed. He could have done so much better. He loses he was given the 12 seed, loses a close match to Ishins of UNC, North Carolina. I mean, you got a 28 seed who actually made it to the quarterfinals, and Patrick could have easily made the quarterfinals if he would have performed a little bit better. Yeah. But remember, this is the weight class, the upper part of the bracket. You have 3 returning national champions. You have Lewis with the 1 seed, Starachi with the 9 seed, Griffith, Michigan has the 4 seed, and
I gotta imagine Caliendo placing 4th in nationals will come out with a higher rank next year than he did this year.
Oh, he's probably going to be top 4. It all depends on Missouri's Keegan O'Toole if he comes back or not. He does have another year of eligibility. Okay. But actually, Iowa State's David Carr, I think he's going to graduate. I think he might be done.
Okay. All right. Moving on, where we're at, 170. Oh, we did that already, 174.
Or nothing much to talk about. No Hawkeyes qualified here. I will say Kickasim of UNI, he becomes a 2-time national champion. I mean, always root for your little brother, even though they can probably beat the crap out of me and other people. But
I was just going to say we didn't qualify anybody at 184, and I forgot who manned 184 most of the year.
Yeah, I think it was Riggins. Remember, Gabe Arnold was bumped up to that weight class for a couple of
times. Yeah. And then we got 197.
Zach Glazier, like I said before, there's other people online that were saying that he may have a favorable seeding. He's not going to All-American. I thought he could have maybe placed in the top 8, but he loses that first-round match to Alfred of Nebraska. Excuse me. Let me take that back. Andy Smith. He loses to Andy Smith of Virginia Tech.
Okay.
His sudden death victory, loses 4-1, gets into the backside. He wins his next match against Luke Gregg of Ohio State. Gets the major, but then he loses to Little Rock, 9 seed. Little of Little Rock. Yeah, Little of Little Rock. 4-1, sudden death victory. And he actually becomes an All-American. And
yeah, I'm just surprised that Zach didn't do better.
Oh, he was pissed after that match. After that last match, he's just
and he will be back next year. I just confirmed it on my previous notes. I forgot that I had done previous notes when I thought we were going to do it Sunday, and I did some more notes today. But I have him on he can return next year.
I mean, he had a really great season going into nationals. He's got a 2-loss record, but his only he lost to Aaron Brooks. I mean, twice. I mean,
yeah.
and Brooks won.
Okay, and so we're now at the heavyweight. Bradley Hill, who was only a redshirt freshman. So I think he did pretty decently considering being a redshirt freshman, and that spot was supposed to be Cassiope.
It was supposed to be Cassiope, but he was given he had to wrestle the number 8 seed Owen Treffin of North Carolina State, and he gets the upset 4-2. I mean, and then he had a rematch against Feldman of Ohio State, and he just lost 11-2. So you know that's going to be an uphill battle for him. So
yeah,
I mean, no matter, I mean, he's given a low seed, so there's just not very high expectations for him, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, and Ayala and both Caliendo will be back. Frankie, Woods, Teskey are all gone. And so we're going to have to refill their weights. Iowa didn't receive a team trophy this year for the first time since 2016, where we had no champions and no trophies. So it was a very similar situation.
Yeah. And I guarantee the brands are probably, I mean, they're probably feeling the pressure. I mean, they're always, I mean, you look at Tom when he's doing interviews, he always looks like he's under pressure.
Yeah.
Like,
and here, this is, you're going to think is funny. Okay. All right. 2013, this was our 4 All-Americans, are the smallest All-Americans that we've had since 2013, when we also had 4 All-Americans, Mike Evans, Ethan Lofthouse, and here's where I got confused because I wrote down Tony Ramos.
Matt Ramos.
Yeah. No, Tony Ramos, because he was part of Iowa wrestling then, All-American. Derek St. John, and I remember Derek St. John very well. He is the current ISU assistant coach.
Yeah, I mean,
you want to know why everybody else is catching up to Iowa? Because they've got coaches that were former wrestlers all over the place.
Well, even Ohio State, they have Tom Ryan. I mean, he was a 3-timer for Iowa at one point. Iowa State's Dresser. I mean, he wrestled for Iowa at one point. You got Davis, Barry Davis, who was at Wisconsin but stepped down. I mean, he was a 3-timer too.
Yeah. Okay, before we move on, I really want to hit some of these guys that are eligible to wrestle next year. But first of all, I just want to remind everybody that Drake Ayala finished 2nd, Michael Caliendo 4th, Jared Frankie 8th, and Real Woods 4th. So, in case we didn't make that clear while we were talking about them.
And even having Cassiope at heavyweight, I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have been an All-American. I mean, that probably would have, I mean, him and also Nelson Brands.
Brands would have been there. Brands, I think he was All-American last year, right?
Yes. I mean, this was not our best team, and we still came away with 5th. And that's what I kind of projected. We'd be about around there.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed. I really got excited when I saw that mathematically we could still get to 2nd place. And then I saw Michigan get a couple of extra points, and I thought, oh, we're not going to catch them. And then it was Cornell that actually jumped Michigan.
You just have wrestlers that overperform their given seeds. And like Vito from Cornell, who was given a 6th seed, the returning national champion, a 6th seed.
Yeah.
And that's one of the complaints people were having about the brackets.
Yeah. And here's the funny thing about it. Even if Drake Ella had won his match, the final, we would have still finished 5th.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, even if he got the fall,
well, if he got the fall, we would have jumped to 3rd, I think.
Okay, I mean that's how close it was too.
Yeah, well, we were 2.5 points behind Cornell, I think, who was in 2nd, right? And then I don't remember now.
Well, I can bring that up real quick.
Yeah, I'm just curious at how many points everybody had. I forgot to write the points down.
Well, I have it right here. You got Penn State with the new record, 172.5. And they literally got 100 points more than the 2nd place team, Cornell, 72.5. Michigan with 71. Iowa State, 68.5. Iowa, 67. Arizona State, 64.5. Virginia Tech, 64. Ohio State, 62. Nebraska, 60.5. But Oklahoma State, they're at 10th with 49.5. And they really fell from being the top dog back in
Yeah,
the 2000.
that's too bad. That's too bad. So honestly, how many? If let's say just hypothetically, Drake Ayala gets a fall, how many points would he got? Team points would he got for that?
Well, you got 2 points right there, and then you got the advancement points. So I think they would have pushed into 4th place over Iowa State.
Okay, all right. So I mean, they could have got 4th, but it wasn't. But getting a pin with somebody that quality of wrestling is probably pretty tough to get.
It is. It really is. I mean, it's happened before in the past, seeing a pin in the finals. So
yeah. So here we go. 125 for next year. We got Drake Ayala back. I fully expect him to man that again next year.
He's probably going to be season ranked number 2. I'm expecting. It depends on Figueroa if he's coming back to Arizona State. I do not know if he's a junior, senior.
Yeah. And then we got his other competition for that is Joey Cruz and Jesse Yarborough. Yarborough also is listed at 133.
Yeah, probably those guys are going to bump up to 133. It's probably going to be a battle between them. And
there's going to be a lot of going for 133. You've got Aiden Harris, you got Charles Matthew, you got J.C. Rhodes, Colin Schreiber. All those guys. I mean, and I don't know how good some of these guys are, but we're going to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. And plus, we're now entering the transfer portal and also the off season. So now people are going to have an opportunity to start training again and hopefully hone in on their skills, make their improvements.
Right. It'd be anxious to see how many of these guys actually jump ship and whether or not we get some people that, want to come and help Iowa, move up from fifth place to champion next year. Maybe if we have the right wrestlers, we can actually sneak out a win over Penn State next year.
We'll have to see what their lineup's going to look like.
I know. Penn State's what Iowa used to be, and Penn State can't hold it forever. Iowa didn't hold it forever.
It depends.
It seemed like forever, I'm sure, to the other colleges.
It all depends on how long Cale Sanderson is going to stay in. My own personal feeling, if Gable did not retire in 1997, let's say he held on for maybe another 10 years. Who knows how many extra national titles they would have had. But I think he had some health issues that he needed to step down. But
he stepped down, but he never really left the program for a while.
Yeah,
I think it was in Brand's second year he finally left the program for good.
Yeah.
He probably still has his hands in it once in a while.
Oh, you still see him.
I can't imagine him and Tom Brands don't talk a lot. Yeah. Okay, so then at 141 next year, we've got a freshman named Coey Jabel, Cale Peterson, Leif Schroeder, and Cade Seabreck. I believe Cade has wrestled this year, so maybe he has an upper hand on this one.
Maybe. I mean, I do recognize Seabreck. I don't have the roster in front of me, so.
Yeah. Well, I took care of that for you. I went through the roster. And at 149, we got a guy named Ryder Block. Some of these names are the first time I've ever heard of these. Ryder Block, Joel, I want to say who's Ranga.
He's actually Southeast Polk here in Altoona, Iowa.
Oh, that's the one you're talking about?
Just starts with the J, right? Soroga.
Yeah, I wanted to say because it starts out like Jesus, and Jesus pronounced in the Hispanic community is Jesus.
Yep.
So I was trying to use that pronunciation, but it's Juzanga. How do you say that?
Juruga.
Juruga. Okay. Yeah,
it's hard to. I got to see.
All righty. And then there's one of the brothers, Carter Martinson. Another freshman, Carson Martinson. So actually, no, I went down the line. That's his brother, and he's at the 157. And so also Victor Voinovich is back. So I would say he's the most experienced one. Oh, and Caleb Rathjen. So between those two, that's probably their two to duke it out. Who gets that spot? Wouldn't you think?
I would like to see Victor. I mean, I really do. I thought, yeah, even though he lost that match, I mean, he's the Oklahoma State transfer, and I'm pretty sure that's why they had him in there going up against Dane Fix, the national runner-up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All
right. Okay. Now we're going to move up to 157 where Kobe Seabrick is there. I honestly, he's listed as a senior this year, so I don't know if he's coming back or not.
Okay.
Okay. You know, what some of these guys who are listed as a senior, I wasn't sure if they were eligible to come back or not. Isaiah Fenton, freshman Carson Martinson, who's the brother to Carter. Bretty Lily Rena. And then actually I took this straight from the roster on the their official page, but this also has Aiden Riggins here, but you say he moved up to 184, right?
84 Riggins. 84.
So Riggins is probably not in contention for 157. He's probably more in contention for the upper weights. Okay.
Yeah.
165 is Michael Caliendo. I imagine he keeps that spot.
Oh yeah, he's
Will Carreno, Drake Rhodes, and Sebastian Robles are his contenders for that.
And Drake Rhodes, I do recognize the name.
Yeah. And this one, 174, this is crazy. I've got Gabe Arnold sitting at 174, but I think I dropped him from 184, to be totally honest, because this spot was Nelson Brands. But like I said, Nelson Brands is listed as a redshirt senior this year, and so it just depends on what the gambling does, whether Nelson Brand can return next year.
Yes.
You know, because as a redshirt senior, normal year, he would have been eligible to come back next year.
And I have some really high expectations for Gabe Arnold coming in too, especially if you believe in the eye test, the way he's able to compete with some of these other athletes.
Yeah. And then Patrick Kennedy is also at this weight. So they're going to have some things to figure out, because I believe Gabe Arnold deserves a chance to start and wrestle until he proves he can't do it, because the few matches that we actually saw him this year, the guy was a machine. He reminded me so much of Spencer Lee.
Just so hard to score on too, the way he's built.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what they were saying in the couple matches we saw him, but he maintains his red shirt. So hopefully he'll be here for another 4 years. But between 165, 174, and 184, I don't want to be Tom Brands when he figures this out, because he's got some decent wrestlers here. Because you got Gabe Arnold, Patrick Kennedy, and then when you move up to 184, Angelo Ferrari is listed there, and then a guy named Aidan McCain is listed there. And so I put Angelo in there, but I didn't mean to put him in there because he's technically not a returner.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's committed, and I'll go over those guys who are committed. And like I told you earlier in private, I said I don't expect Angelo Ferrari to actually show up. If he does, more power to him. That means he's not listening to his brothers, you know.
And who knows how very tight these Ferrari boys are.
Yeah, and it might be that the other Ferrari brother, who's been committed to Iowa since January last year, hasn't enrolled yet because he's waiting for his brother to come, and so that they can do this together.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm just speculating. And then the other one, I don't know if he'll ever wrestle for Iowa. His demands and his ego are too high for Iowa.
Okay, yeah, he's a wild card. And even if we don't have him, I think Zach is definitely our guy at 197. And he had a really good performance against AJ at the Soldier Salute, despite, technically losing in overtime, despite AJ's little smack.
Yeah.
Disqualification.
Yeah, well, Zach, that's Zach. Since I got here, Zach can return on here. If he does, that's his spot to lose, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident in him. I know it's a very disappointing showing at Nationals, but hopefully that's going to be the motivation for him to get better, score more points.
Yeah. We do know during the duels he did very well.
Yes, he did. He won a lot of those close matches. Then when it comes to Nationals, he lost those close matches.
Yeah. Well, like I said, is I think people watch film on him, and because he's one of those guys that was very hard to score on. So he could get away with a low scoring match.
Until he ran in across Aaron Brooks, and Aaron Brooks tech-falled him at the Big Ten finals.
Yeah. Did he wrestle him when they wrestled the duel?
Well, if I remember, I think his performance at the duel was a lot better. But when you get to the postseason, that's when you want to hit your ideal peak performance. And Aaron Brooks hit it.
Yeah, he did. He did. Aaron Brooks, very impressive wrestler. And so you got to give your hats off to him, even though he's not the enemy. You know, you got to get your hats off to Iowa State for what they were able to do this year for wrestling.
Yes.
So, okay. All right. Well, this takes us up to the heavyweight, where this could possibly be crowded too, especially if Cassiope can come back. You know, we got Bradley Hill, Bren Keeter, but she wouldn't be available until after January.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, if Cassiope doesn't come back, Bradley Hill mans the spot until January, and then Keeter takes over and mans it the rest of the year.
And supposedly people kind of know he's the better wrestler, but I have no problem saving Ben. And he looks a little bit undersized, and you don't want to risk getting him injured.
Yeah, he actually is he a linebacker for Iowa football team? Is he a linebacker? Ben?
Yeah, I think he is.
Okay, all right. Because I was just thinking, I thought he was so much bigger than what he looked when I saw him in his wrestling singlet, and I'm like, dang, for a heavyweight guy, he's not very big.
And I'm looking at the heavyweight bracket right now. I'm really kind of thinking how well he could have done. I mean, Cassiope, he beat Schultz of Arizona State, who made it to the semifinals, and Schultz was a finalist. But Cassiope did struggle. Everyone struggled against Krukovich of Penn State, but also Hendrickson of Air Force. He actually pinned Cassiope at Nationals last year.
Okay.
So this would have been a really tough weight class. And then you got Bastida of Iowa State. He was on a roll. He was on a rampage until he got the Nationals, and he dropped a few matches. He was actually getting the number 2 seed, and he failed to be All-American.
Yeah.
So this was a really loaded weight class, at least the top 10.
Yeah.
We got Davidson of Michigan. He made it to the finals.
Yeah. This will also be a loaded heavyweight at Iowa, too. Besides the 3 we mentioned, Easton Fleshman and Gage Marley are also redshirt freshmen, so at heavyweight. Or 285. I just learned that heavyweight used to be you didn't have to have a weight limit. But heavyweights cannot go over 285 now.
Yes. There's a famous Iowa State super heavyweight.
Chris Taylor.
Yep. He was a big boy.
I remember watching him on The Biggest Loser. He came on The Biggest Loser to lose weight, and he couldn't do it. He had to quit the show. So, but yeah, I don't know how big he is now. But yes, I remember him well. He was huge. Okay, let's talk about the new guys coming. Okay, I'm excited about this one. Miguel Estrada.
Yeah. Estrada, I will say I recognize the names.
He's 157. He's from my hometown right here. Not my hometown, but the town I currently live in, Bakersfield, California. He's a senior at the same high school that my granddaughter attends.
Oh, nice.
She's a freshman, though, so I don't even know if she even knows who he is, but he has performed very well. I was trying to get all of his stats, but it was hard to put them all together, but he's a 3-time state champion for sure. I don't know if he's a 4-timer or not because I couldn't find this year's results.
Because this is the state of California, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they only have 1 class in the state of California. So we're here in Iowa, we have 3 classes.
Right.
1A, 2A, 3A.
Yeah. California does things weird when it comes to state titles. First, you got to go through your area, and you got to go through a region. Then you got to go through sections, and it's, and finally you get to the state level on basketball and football. But, it's just like it takes forever to get there because there's different steps along the way to.
Yeah.
So if you actually make it to state, you've done a great job. Okay, so we also have Drake's brother Drew coming. I don't have his weight listed here. You know what weight he's been recruited at?
I think he's probably one of the lower weight classes. He's not a very big kid. He hasn't won a state title. I think he's been in the finals maybe once. But
is Drake better wrestler? Would you say overall, or
definitely a better wrestler. I mean, if he
Okay.
runner up says it right there.
Okay. And Victor's brother, Kale, will be coming in at 157. And so he's coming.
Oh, another point. Okay.
Hmm?
Another Voinovich?
Yep.
All right.
This is his brother. Brady Beham at 184. So that might help right there since we're kind of devoid at 184. Especially since I don't actually think I got Angelo Ferrari listed at 184 as well. But God, I'd just be I'll be honest with you. I'd be surprised if he actually shows up.
We'll see how much peer pressure the brothers can put on one another.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I still think the reason why his middle brother hasn't enrolled yet is because he's waiting for Angelo to come so they could wrestle together. He didn't want to run out of eligibility before Angelo got here.
Yeah. Okay.
And I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
And I know that people are going to raise Cain if the older one shows up. So, all right. Who did I miss? I missed one more. Kenyon Hernandez. I also don't have a weight for him. I wasn't able to find his weight that he was recruited at either.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the name, so
yeah, those are the 6 names that I know about that I researched and found that had committed to Iowa and are signed to wrestle at Iowa next year.
Okay.
And so, so that's all I could find on them.
And keep in mind, Brands tends to have a really good recruiting class coming in. Usually they are about top 5. So, I mean, I'm always been optimistic.
Oh, yeah. Even though we haven't, I just want to keep people in mind, even though we haven't heard a lot of these names personally, we will start hearing some of these names more and more as they, pull their red shirts off and get a chance to wrestle at those weights. Because like we said, we got like 3 weights we got to replace, right? 3 or 4.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
For sure. And then, and there's no guarantee that some of these guys who wrestled all year at that weight are going to be able to maintain it next year. They might lose their spots, although, Tom Brands might be like Kirk Ferentz, would rather go with the experience over talent.
Yeah, go with experience except for youthfulness, and you really don't make those mistakes.
Yeah. And that's true. But that's all I really got. Do you have anything else you want to kind of add to it, or?
No, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, because of the gambling stuff, it does feel like a disappointing, underachieving season. But just keep in mind, this was not even our best team, and yet we still came away with 5th place.
Yeah, that's what I said. I put on there when we still mathematically were able to get to 2nd. I put on Chad Lysicle's text message group that I'm a member of. That I said, the fact that we're still has a legitimate shot at 2nd place with what we had to do this year and how poor we performed in the Big Tens says a lot. That I thought Brands really had these guys ready to go, and in the long run he did. It's just that a lot of these guys underperformed.
The coaches can do so much. I mean, the best thing they can do is make sure they're healthy going into the tournament, and then it's on the individual performance.
Yeah, and that's what it boils down to. Individual. I mean, Tom can't go out there and wrestle every match for him, because if he did, we'd have 10 All-Americans.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the seeds that were given. Drake Ayula, 3 seed, he overperformed by making it to the finals. Nothing at 133. Woods, he was given the 3 seed, yet he placed 4th. He underperformed, and remember, he fell in the quarterfinals. Brandon, he overperformed. Remember, he was given a 10 seed, places 8th. And then Caliendo, he was given a 6 seed, places 4th. He overperformed. And then you have Glazier, who's given a 7 seed and did not All-American. So a lot of it has to do with individual performance.
Yeah. What was Woods seeded?
He was given the 3 seed.
Okay, so he underperformed too.
Yeah, he was projected at least make it to the semifinals, but lost in the quarters.
Okay. All right. I think we covered this pretty good. I'm a little sorry that we had a couple of people pop in and out during the the show didn't stick with us. I guess wrestling's not everybody's thing. I did out there and advertised it on Facebook that we'd be here, and I sent it to all my favorite wrestling fans that I knew on my private messages. And so I'm a little disappointed that nobody came in, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll tune in and watch the replay.
Yep.
So if you guys have made it this far, I just want to remind you guys to subscribe to the podcast, like it. It helps the algorithm. And don't be scared to comment on something we may have said, because I will find it. I will find your comment later. Even when we're not live, I will find it and respond. Unlike some other podcasters for the Hawkeyes who will not respond to your live comments, and they will not come back and respond to them later. They think they're too good for you. They think they're too good to answer your questions.
Dean always answers my questions. You always answer my questions.
We always did. Paul, Jason, and I, and we took time to go through all the comments and questions and tried to make everybody happy, and that's what we try to do. I mean, that's why I want you guys, make sure you guys are all sharing this too. Share it with all your Iowa wrestling fans. And
one question before we leave: what is your prediction with Iowa versus Colorado?
We'll win.
Okay.
It might be by 2 or 3 points, but we'll win.
Looking forward to it.
Maybe look for a Caitlin Clark splash at the second. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be just like this last West Virginia game. I believe Colorado also plays a tough defense, and as we know, they've already beaten LSU this year.
Oh, okay. So,
it was early in the season, like second or third game of the season.
But not as many fouls like against West Virginia.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
That's a lot of fouls.
That was crazy. I think the referees looked like they were tending to favor us. I heard people complain about the referee, and I go, what game were you watching? They were definitely favoring us, and Caitlin got away with so many pushes. I wanted to go back and count how many pushes Caitlin did.
But there were 2 foul outs and 3 players with 4 fouls from
yeah
something like that. Jeez.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to play defense that hard, you're going to commit fouls. So they probably know that when they do that that they're going to commit those fouls. I mean, the coach probably realizes that playing that physical part of a defense and as tight as they played it, that they're going to come away with some fouls. And I didn't even think about that originally when I did my pregame on it, but the game went exactly like I thought it would, as I did on my pregame report. Exactly like nothing changed, just like the Utah game went exactly like I did on my pregame report. And I said, you got to watch this Mazden guy, or Mazden, whatever he's called. I says, he's their 3-point shooter, and if we let him get away and we don't know where he's at, he's going to drain and bury him on us. And he did. Okay. So,
well, should we call it a wrap?
We'll call it a wrap. Okay. Take care. Oh, by the way, people, before I totally wrap it up, I just want to let you know we are working on a spring football tell-all, and what we think we're going to do with what we think the team is going to do come next week sometime. And I will have as my special guest on that, Kelvin Fisher.
Oh, okay.
So, Kelvin, if you watch the wrestling, which I don't know if you're into it or not, just a reminder, you and I talked about this, and we're going to do it. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Take care. Bye.